So your quote, Scott, at the end, I did not know, I don't believe, that I was going to be talking about the art of abundance today. Perfect segue. There's only one mind. I've heard that somewhere. So I think that before I really get into this, that I want to say, I've said this before, and I just want to say that I am humbled, honored, grateful for being able to step in and be on this journey with you. I believe in all the spiritual wisdom that has been spoken. I have my own experiences and memories of paradise. Mostly people and experiences. And when I think of paradise, I can't help but think of the abundance of the universe and concepts, principles that we believe, like perfect divine right action, abundance, being right at the center of everything that is taking place, no matter how trivial, no matter how glorious, no matter how horrific. My spiritual journey in an intentional way began in paradise. I was on a journey of creating my own life and doing things the way that I thought they should be done in order to overcome what I later found out to know was my own belief that I was not enough. My own belief in lack and limitation. My own belief that there was not enough. And so how could I be enough? How could I be enough if everything around me was not enough? Now, I never logically thought about this. I just tried to control things. And then when I got into the Church of Religious Science, I thought, oh my gosh, I've found a teaching that lets you control your life by controlling your thinking. And so, in my journey, I began to practice it that way, and had a lot of my teachers chuckle at me and pat me on the back and metaphorically turn me around and send me back in the direction that they not only knew would be best to go, but that they knew I really wanted to go. And so I know when I say that abundance is not about money or success, that what abundance is about is the journey that we are traveling. And on that journey, discovering that we are more than we thought ourselves to be. So the title of my message today is The Art of Abundance. And a lot of the things in the next 10 or so minutes that I want to share with you are taken from this book called The Art Art of Abundance, 10 Rules for a Prosperous Life. And what I love about this book, many things, but right in the very beginning, the author is very clear that this is not about money. That to make the art of abundance and learning to live an abundant life, to make that about money really dishonors the principle of abundance. And yes, money is included in it. Prosperity is included in it. But abundance is the recognition of who we really are as spiritual beings, the universe in which we live, and that the Creator, out of which everything has come. And so that really does make sense, doesn't it? That it's an art. So abundance, when looking at a couple of definitions, art, a skill acquired through practice, the art of something. And so I'm about, and I know you are about, the art of spirituality. And recognizing the abundance that the Spirit is, and that we are, is a skill that is acquired through my practices. First and foremost, through the practice of what it is that I am thinking and what it is that I am believing. And I am so grateful that we have an awareness, that I have an awareness to know what I am thinking. And when I don't know and I'm not conscious of what I'm thinking, I get to look at what is being created in my life. And I can say, well, what's that about? So something, I am the co-creator. And out of my own beliefs that are held deep, rooted in the subjective, the subconscious nature of my being beneath my level of awareness. See, once they are rooted, I don't have to be conscious of them anymore. They just happen. They create, they fire, if you will, automatically. Now, abundance, one of the definitions of abundance is a very large quantity of something. And I'm going to add on to that this very large quantity of something, for our purposes, is infinite. There's no end to it. Behind every thought, every deed, action of every human being and their rational mind on this planet is the desire for freedom, inner peace, a life worth living, a life that is filled with purpose and meaning, a life of wholeness. To this end, our author, Dr. Dennis Merritt Jones, tells us living abundantly is an art. Sounds like a big task. Now, in my spiritual journey in paradise, I had a wonderful teacher that loved the Bible. I loved the Bible when I was a little girl, but of course it was a very simplistic view of the Bible. And as I got older, like maybe a lot of you, there were a lot of things in the Bible that I not only did I not understand, I just plain old didn't believe. And so when I had the opportunity to take Metaphysical Bible and to look a little bit more deeply, there were things that came alive to me that allowed me to be more aware of the abundance that was around me and the abundance of wisdom that is in some of the scriptures. And so I want to share with you, in support of this idea of building and developing our art of abundance, that one of the scriptures say, I am come so that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Now, one of the things that doesn't escape me about this verse is the very beginning. I am come. And this is from the King James Version. When you look at the standard version, I am, the am is taken out. And it's stated, I have come. Now, both are true. But we know in this teaching of the science of mind and in metaphysics, and knowing that our thoughts have power, that every time I say I am, whatever I follow it up with plants seeds for the belief of that idea. So I want to ask you, how many of you go around saying, I am abundant? Okay, all right, awesome. Well, no, just starting with, do you ever? I am abundant. So, isn't it interesting? I find it fascinating that we live in a world where that kind of language is not the norm. And as a matter of fact, if you went around saying too often, I am abundant, I'm whole, complete, and perfect. There is a divine essence that is moving through me, and I am creating delightful, abundant, fulfilling ideas and experiences in my life. People might just turn around and go the other way, right? Maybe there's ways that we can start to change that. Maybe there's ways that we can bring that kind of languaging down to something a little bit more relatable. I'm expecting great things to happen today. I even hear people say sometimes, you know, the universe loves me and supports me. But when I'm feeling lost, when I'm feeling like maybe I'm not enough, those things are good. But I like to put a little bit more power into it. Because what happens when I do is that there's something inside me that wakes up and begins to pay attention, and it says, you're right. And we know it's not an egotistical thing. It is our divine birthright. And in our search for security, we cannot forget that the greatest channel for abundance and our true nature is ourselves. Let me say that again. In the search for security, we can not forget that the greatest channel for our good is our own true essence. Okay, so we know that we are surrounded by what Holmes called race belief. People that every day, numerous times a day, and probably, I'll have to put myself in that category. Not every day, not numerous times a day, but there are times that I say, there's not enough. The question is, am I listening? The question is, when I hear that erroneous statement, am I able to, do I hear it and then do I choose to bring it aright? The art of abundance asks us to look beyond what we see. It asks us to look with our true essence, with an attitude of gratitude in the development of the idea that abundance is everywhere. I was sitting there looking at this scarf and I was thinking, my gosh, the sun and the stars and the moon. Isn't it true that when we look up at the sky at night and we see the moon out there every day getting larger and getting smaller and knowing that the moon is still, the fullness of the moon is somewhere? To see the blue sky, to stand and look at the vast ocean. It awakens something within us that knows without a doubt that the universe is abundant, that it's teeming with possibilities, that it's waiting to be recognized, and that all of the essence and the energy of that abundance is within our own being. That's why we appreciate it. That's why it opens our heart and allows us to see and speak with wisdom. It's also interesting to note that when we say there's not enough, that there's only one word that needs to go. Not. That simple. And what begins to happen when we say the truth, I am enough, and there is enough, that I live in a spiritual world of pure potentiality, awaiting my recognition of it, my gratitude of it, and my own personal idea for what it means to live a life of purpose and fulfillment. Isn't that awesome? Nobody is going to tell you what that should be for you. So the practice of developing the art, we need to just start right where we are. No judgment. Take the not out. This is where I am. Look right at the situation, and I heard this expressed by all three of you in different ways. To look at the current situation, whatever it is, to see through the appearance, and to know that in it, through it, behind it, in some way, is this pure potential energy of life awaiting our recognition of it. This is a really important thing. When we look at a child and we recognize their light and their brilliance and their creativity, they come alive. They thrive. Why do we think that we are any different? The experiences of our lives is nothing more than an extension of who we are. And so when there's something that's showing up that is not exactly the way we want it to be, we still, I heard from each one of you, there's something to be blessed. There's something to be recognized for the gold, for the potential, for the experience, for the gratitude of the opportunity of what we have learned from a particular situation. Now, I have a little story to share with you to that end. And this is about some friends of mine who also happen to be the author of the book. And so I heard Dennis and Diane telling the story of going to Kona, Hawaii. And this was before the time of GPS. So they arrive at the Kona, Hawaii airport. They are so excited. They have a longtime friend that they're going to visit. And so they get their bags, they get their rental car, they jump in, and no GPS, remember. So they took some time to look at the map and to be really sure and clear about where they were going on this 2.5-hour drive to his property. And excited, prepared, they took off and they drove, and about 5 hours later, they ended up at the end, literally, of a dead-end road. And they knew this trip has been a dead end. They knew that somewhere along the way they had turned right when they should have turned left. And so Dennis recounts that they're sitting there and they're looking around. 5 hours later, the day is moving along. And as they look around them, they see the jungle, they see lava, cap, rock, and the ocean. And they both talk about the fact that at that moment there was a growing frustration in the car and you could cut the tension with a knife. At that point, Dennis's wife Diane says, "Honey, it seems to me that we're at choice here." She says, "I think we need to get a bigger perspective." And as they sat there and her words just kind of settled into the car, she wasn't angry. She was choosing not to be angry. "Honey, we're at choice. I think we need a bigger perspective here." And almost synchronistically, at the same time, they both remembered the words of a Janice Danfield song. "Though we may not know where we are going, we're not lost. We are exploring." And they remember how the energy in the car began to shift. And instead of moving into blaming, "You should have done it this way, why didn't you know, we're never going to find our way there, lack, limitation, we're stuck, we're sunk," they began to lighten up and embrace the idea that on this life journey, they are explorers. Hint number 2 in developing the art of being abundant. And so they turned around, and even though they didn't know exactly where they were going, they took the first road that became apparent to them. They traveled on down the road, and very shortly thereafter on this road, they saw a little light, because it's getting dark. It's also beginning to rain. And they pulled into this property and found that there was a landline phone that they were able to call their friend Mark. And he was very shortly on his way. The other little caveat was that this place that they pulled into happened to be a nudist camp. Now, there's one thing that I'm forgetting to share with you. Yes, no, not that. But before they turned around to look for the next road, they took a moment to pray, to affirm for a shot of divine guidance. And in the spirit of adventure, they said, let's explore. Can we be explorers in this journey of life? Do we have it within us? Do we have enough faith in the universal presence and in ourselves? Sometimes it seems like blind faith, I'm sure. I know it is for me at times. But can we embark? Can we be an explorer and embark on the road unknown? Can we have a trust and a faith that every step along the way, as we affirm that our Creator is infinitely abundant, that we're one with that Creator, and that divine guidance is always showing up in our lives? Can we set off into all of these adventures, our individual adventures, our collective adventure as a center? Can we set off with the idea that we are exploring and developing the art of abundance? I think we can. I know that you've all already been doing that in tremendous ways. And so in closing, I'd like to share with you the words from the Jana Stanfield song, I'm not lost, I'm just exploring. If I could look down on this path I walk from somewhere up high, I could see the crooked road that I have come. I walked a mile with sorrow, I walked a mile with joy, and now I'm less afraid of either. For every tear I've cried, there's a smile that I've earned. For every mile I've walked, there's a lesson I've learned. I'm not lost, I'm exploring. Life is an adventure worth enjoying. Though I may not know where I'm going, I am not lost, I'm exploring. Some people choose to live their lives on quiet avenues, while others find a place in the parade. Some, like me, are seekers. We take less traveled roads, believing we can find a better way. And though I get discouraged, I won't be turning back. I have joy as my compass and faith as my map. To the art of abundance, to knowing that we are abundant beings, we live in an abundant universe. And I am just so honored to hear your stories, and it inspires me. Thank you.